Right, this will not be a painting one today. You have been bamboozled again. I am not streaming because I am very much shattered. I will not be doing a video over the weekend. Actually, no. Saturday, I have something important going on, so I will not be doing a video then. Sunday, however, I will. Unless I might post a video midday, PvZ Fusions. But apart from that, that's pretty good. We've got a nice level of pineapple. Now, this is the interesting video. Breaksman number one. That's good. Canadian. It may look like one is slanted. No, they are horizontally facing. We're going to set one back up. But no. See if I can move back. Just to give you a nice bit of space so you can actually see what's going on. If I can lift this up a bit more. But no. Basically, apart from today, it's simple. Tutorial on Warhammer. Basics. You'll need single dice. At least. You'll also need a tape measure. And you will also need models. Or just plastic things of some kind of shape. Usually relevant to the thing is, but I've seen people make gingerbread houses for miniatures. They are quite good actually. Some people have a knack for it. But no. So this will be basic combat for Warhammer, how combat is arranged, how you do some combat stuff. If people are interested, I'll do a second video on how you run a small game, probably like 100-point game. Literally be that and how deployments work in that lot. But this will be bare bones and then step up after each other. This is one-on-one combat. You will need a device or you'll need the data cards printed out. These are important. These are your unit stat lines. These are what show you the numbers of which you need. Warhampedia, a nice Russian site for you. Very good at giving you all the student ones. Send that. But no, very good Russian site. You're looking for 10th edition. Now, there is 11th edition Warhammer. This is 10th edition. 11th edition is coming out in June. I wanted to do this mainly for a friend who asked me, can you explain Warhammer in 10 minutes? This video will be at least an hour long, and this is bare bones combat. For the person I've just sent this to at 11 o'clock at night, hello, this is for you. You wanted to know how this game runs. If you're not interested, it's fine. But seriously, I am willing to teach you this. It's fun once you get involved in it. Alright, we are playing the Astra Militarum. We will need data sheets for the Astra Militarum. The Astra Militarum, aka the Imperial Guard, the superior name. No one calls it the Astra Militarum unless you're official about it. It's the Imperial Guard. It's called the Imperial Guard in books. Writers call it the Imperial Guard. Its fancy name is the Astra Militarum. Like the fancy name for Space Marines, the Box Boys, you will have seen them. The Box Boys is Adeptus Astartes. You call them Space Marines, or whatever chapter they're doing. Alright, what we have here is a basic Hadean. Not going to go too in depth in the lore, but basically, their planet was on the borders of what is basically 40k's Hell, a dimensional door into Hell known as the Eye of Terror. Their planet was on the border. After 13 Black Crusades, which is a whole nother thing, the planet broke before the Guard did, classic Cadian catchphrase. Some lore tidbits. You could still see the flashes of las cannons going off of pieces of Cadia's crust as the planet was being ripped apart. And as chunks were flying off, las cannon shots could still be seen from the upper atmospheres of those chunks firing. So really, the guard did. The planet broke before the guard did. And what we have is a Krieg, a genetic clone, mass produced on the planet Krieg, that is specifically meant to die for the Emperor to repent for his past planet's rebellion. But it's gotten to the point now where not even the Krieg know why they're doing it. They're just born and bred to do it. No. So, in a classic 40k game, you have phases. Goes player by player turn. You have your phases. At the start of the game, there would be deployment. We'll go over more of this later on. But you would place units down and you would do it intervals of your opponent, then you, or your opponent, then you, or you, then your opponent. Depends who wins the dice roll off and who gets to choose. But for your turn, you would have the command phase. Each player gets one command point. Do not make this an acronym. You do not take the two capital letters and join them together. You do not combine the letter C and the letter P in the one word. I have learnt this from personal experience. Do not do that. What you do is call them command points. These are special abilities you can do once per phase. You cannot do them again, and they have certain restrictions on what units they can apply. Let me shuffle this slightly. I think angling it might help. That's the charger. My laptop's on 50%. It's along a bit more as well. No. Basically, they're used for special abilities. They're used for special abilities that you can use on certain units in a certain phase or on certain units during the battle or whatever. That's basically it. We'll go over some command point stratagem basic ones later on. We may actually use one now. But both players get 1 CP per command phase. You can gain up to 1 additional CP due to bonuses and abilities from other units. And we will go over this because Krieg and Cadians have one, and you can only gain a maximum of 1 though. So at most you can generate 2 command points per turn, per any player's turn. You can generate a maximum of 2 of them. Any abilities that give you 1 for free at the start of your command phase are much better than the ones that usually just you require a dice roll. Anyway, you would originally go to your command phase where everyone gets 1 command point each. Then you would move on to your movement phase. Here's where you can move stuff. Since you would have a dice roll off first, however, actually, we should do that. You would have a dice roll off to see who deploys first. Cadian gets a 2. Kriegsman gets a 6. The player that scores highest at the start gets to choose who's attacker and defender. For this, it doesn't matter. Defender deploys first is the only real thing we've got to think. Obviously, you would with this 1v1, the Kriegs player would probably choose the Cadian player to deploy first. Cadian player would deploy the Cadian. Kriegs player deploy the Kriegsman. Then they would roll off for initiative. And basically, initiative is who goes first. For the rest of the game, who has turn 1 and who has turn 2. Cadian gets a 2. Kriegsman gets a 4. Tradesman goes first. As you can see, the player who rolls highest for initiative does not get to choose who goes first or second. You go first. This can be a positive or a negative depending on how you've deployed. You can have deployed really aggressively and suddenly realize you've got turn 2. Or you could deploy very passively in case you got turn 2, and suddenly got turn 1, and now you still need to use that turn to get up, and the enemy now has time to shoot you. Basically, you waste a turn. Now, on to command phase. Each of you will receive 1 command point. Notified by dice. There are apps such as Tabletop Battles. Here you can keep track of your victory points and command points, and side missions and central primary objectives and secondary objectives. We will talk about those probably in a 3rd video if people are interested. I'll grab 2 more dice. But no. The next phase would be, since the Kriegsman is going first, the movement phase. Now, you go and find your unit's data card. We have a Kriegsman, so this will be in K. Got a second. Krieg. It will be in battle line, however. These are keywords, they are useful for later. But this is a Kriegsman. Kriegsmen have a movement characteristic. Under the movement section, under the M, there should be a number with an inch sign next to it. Yes, 40k uses inches. Yes, this was made by British people. Don't ask questions. Kriegsman can move 6 inches. He's moved here. Now, the Cadian player is going to spend the 1 command point for Overwatch. This is a common stratagem that any army can use. You select one unit within 24 inches of the moved target. You can do this both in the movement phase and in the charge phase, as both require the model to move. Now then, what Overwatch is basically, when an enemy model moves, you may select a unit within 24 inches, shoot that unit. You may think, oh, you just get a second shooting phase. No, there is a difference here. The difference is you hit on 6s, no matter your ballistic skill, no matter your modifiers. You hit on dice rolls of 6, and only 6. Now then, we go. Now we're using a Cadian shock trooper to shoot. As can be seen by the model itself, usually people do what's called WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. Some people don't do WYSIWYG, they usually tell you, and you can ask your opponent to mark down. Like if they run 2 squads, if they run 2 different Bane blades but they don't have the guns on them, ask your opponent to note down which one's which, or basically make sure it's easier to tell the difference. This Cadian has a lasgun. Lasguns are a weapon, a common guard weapon. They were on all your squads as the basic thing. You can swap them out for heavier weapon option. The lasgun has 24 inches. Now you would technically measure to see if the opponent is within 24 inches. This man is clearly in 24 inches. He is within, yes. Now, lasgun has a keyword next to it in blue letters. Rapid fire 1. You may ask what rapid fire 1 is. Half the range. If the target is within half the range, so within 12 inches of a lasgun, clearly is, rapid fire 1 means it increases the number of attacks the weapon has by 1. It will always increase within half range, increase the number of attacks this weapon has by the unit next to it, by X. So rapid fire X, within half range, increase the number of attacks by X. The lasgun has a 24-inch range, clearly signified that the Kriegsman is within 24. We have also clearly signified the Kriegsman's within 12 inches, so a lasgun with technically 1 attack now has 2 attacks. Rolling 2 attacks and hitting on 6s. Oh, I didn't realise we'd actually get a 6 here. We've received a 6. Now, a lasgun has a strength of 3. The Kriegsman has a toughness of 3. Strength versus toughness is one of the most key deciding factors if a weapon is really good or really terrible. A strength of 3 isn't good. A strength of 3 is meaning you're wounding most things on 5s, as the dice roll to wound is dependent on the strength versus toughness value. If you have a weapon with twice or higher the strength characteristic of the opponent's toughness, so if you have a target of toughness 3 like this Kriegsman, and you're firing something like a T6 weapon, you're wounding on 2s. If your strength is greater than the opponent's toughness, but it's not double the opponent's toughness, you're wounding on 3s. So a bolter of strength 4 is wounding this Kriegsman strength 3 on 3s. Now, if you equal the opponent's toughness, lasgun into Kriegsman, you're wounding on 4s. So, with this one shot, we wound on 4s. We get another 6. Unfortunately, we don't have anything that crits. We'll talk about crits later. But we do, in fact, wound the Kriegsman. Now, if you have less strength than toughness, for example, if I was trying to shoot a Space Marine of T4 with a lasgun of strength 3, I'll be wounding on 5. And if I was trying to wound, I think Blight Lord Terminator. If I was trying to shoot a Blight Lord Terminator with a las gun, the Blight Lord's D6, las gun is only strength 3. I'm wounding on 6s. This is the key thing. Anything can shoot anything and wound anything. However, not anything strong enough can wound anything weak enough. So if you're firing a basically a volcano at someone, you can still miss the volcano shot. There is a weapon literally called a volcano cannon. We will get onto this maybe. So the Canadian not only hit on the 6 for Overwatch, but wounded a 6 as well, so got the 4 up to wound. Now, on the stat line, you'll see that it has a attacks of 1, ballistic skill 4 up, so you would be hitting on 4s in your shooting phase. A strength of 3, this is where we got the 4 up from. Now you'll see an AP column, 0. Now, a Kriegsman has a save of 5 up, basically meaning if the Kriegsman is wounded, it has taken a wound, you roll a dice. If you get equal to or higher than the save characteristic, such as this Kriegsman failed to do here with what was a 3, you do not suffer a wound. This is an armor save. AP is basically armor penetration. How much worse does the armor get? So if I was firing, let's say, a mastercrafted bolter, which is AP 1, I believe, you would actually make the Kriegsman save on a 6 up instead of a 5 up. This is important for benefit of cover and that kind of thing. Now, the Kriegsman did fail his save. So, you will see next to the AP there's a damage column. 1 damage. Now, Kriegsman only has 1 wound, so you would remove the Kriegsman. This would be a lucky exchange. The Cadian with the lasgun kills the Kriegsman with the lasgun. Simple exchange. On Overwatch, that's 1 CP for 1 kill. However, let's pretend that Overwatch didn't happen and give each one their CP back, command point back. Really should not be agonizing. I've gotten used to it now. Do not get used to it. Command point CP means something entirely different, apparently, that I can't really remember. But just don't do it, otherwise you'll get laughed at. This is some damn good. All monsters this good. This is some damn good monster. Never had any energy drinks before. It's quite good. Anyway, but no. So let's say that didn't happen. Kriegsman moved up. It's still the Kriegsman's turn now. The Kriegsman now gets to shoot. We move on from the movement phase to the shooting phase. There is something else you can do in the movement phase, but we'll talk about that later. I have some termagants that can be used on some Kriegsmen, and we'll show that. Someone's going to really hate me for that showing because I'm unlucky. But no. So now we've made the mention that the Kriegsman now gets to shoot. Kriegsman also has a laser. In most armies, weapons named a specific thing usually have the same profile as each other. For example, a Cadian lasgun has the same stat profile as a Krieg's lasgun. Both of these share the same ballistic skill, a 4-up ballistic skill. This is important. Now, instead of Overwatch, where you hit on unmodified 6s, so you roll critical hits, this is where it comes to play. Critical hits, I shouldn't actually be calling Overwatch critical hits, it's unmodified rolls of 6s. Critical hits are when you roll a 6, or if you have the ability to get crit hits on lower. Pardon me. For example, I believe there's some way to, I think in Tyranids there's a stratagem where if you have a harvester model, you can get lethal hits and crits on 5s. Means that any unmodified rolls of 5s count as crits for stuff like lethal hits. We'll get onto this later. But basically, yeah, you critical hit on 6s. Well, Overwatch isn't critical hits. It's unmodified rolls, so the pure dice value of 6s. So we have a Krieg's with a 4-up ballistic skill, so he hits on 4s, means 4s, 5s, and 6s count as a hit. This Kriegsman has roll of 4. He does in fact hit. Now, a strength 3 lasgun versus a T3 Cadian. We know this by now. It's, I hope you said 4s, because, yes, it's 4s, because the strength of a lasgun is equal to the toughness of the Cadian, being both 3. So wounding on 4s again. has in fact wounded on another 4. Now, the Cadian saves on a 5 up. Does the Cadian make the save? Las guns have no other AP unless you give them AP through some stratagem. The Cadian fails. The Cadian takes 1 wounded damage. The Cadian only has 1 wound, so you would therefore remove the Cadian. The Kriegsman has won this duel. Now, let's say the guy did not in fact wish to shoot the opponent. Well, we would move on from the shooting phase to what is known as the charging phase. The charging phase is quite special. It's also quite one of the dumbest things in Warhammer. The charging phase, you roll 2d6. If the opponent is within, you select a target, then you roll 2d6. If you get equal to or higher than the distance between the two models, you then charge that model. In 11th edition, this is changing. I will make a whole new tutorial series if this goes decently for 11th edition. But basically, currently it's you choose a target, then you roll 2d6 and see if you hit. Now, we get our handy measuring tape out here. We measure. This is the done thing. Kriegsman can move 6 inches. However, if he charges, he can move up 12 inches, doubling his movement. This Cadian is about 5 inches away from this Kriegsman, so you need to roll a 5 up to charge. Now, there is a parley move of 1 inch. This move basically always makes your charge round down. You always round down to, if it's a like 4.5, you round down to 4. If it's a 4.9, you round down to 4. The parley move always makes it so your charges are on the lower digit. Now, rolling 5, I rolled 6. This effectively means I get to roll 6. I get to move 6 inches instead of 5, but I must end with base-to-base contact with the model. So here I can actually move the Kriegsman to go here instead, on the side. This is important in case you didn't declare a multi-charge because you can't get engagement range with another model, or if you want to move your models around so it makes a heroic intervention harder. Now, having charged, the Kriegsman gains the Fight's First ability. This ability does not gain priority over already existing Fights First. It's like a subset of Fights First. As long as the thing he's fighting does not have Fights First, he will fight first for this turn and the subsequent next turn. This Kriegsman has a close combat weapon. Close combat weapons are 1 attack each. He has a weapon skill of 4, so he's hitting on 4s. This is the same thing for ranged, but it's melee combat. He hits a 4. Close combat weapons are strength 3. These are just regular guys. In fact, he gets the 4 again. Now, the close combat weapon is still just guys punching each other. Armor still has some effect. On a 5 up, the Cadian lives. Now, you may be thinking, okay, that's the end of the turn. It's not. The Cadian now gets to fight back. The Cadian has the exact same profile as a close combat weapon as a Kriegsman does, so 1 attack hitting on 4s. Be a 5. Strength 3, so wounded on 4. Be a 2. This is failed. We would then move on to the next turn. Both players go up 1 command point. It's the Cadian's command phase. Now the Cadian's movement phase. Now, the Cadian can move. He can make a withdrawal or fall back action, where basically, run away. You cannot shoot or charge unless that unit has a specific ability that allows it to fall back, shoot, or charge. This is similar to another move that can be made in the movement phase called an advanced movement, but we'll talk about that later. This Cadian will not make a fallback move. Now, you may be thinking, oh, shooting phase, the Cadian can just shoot the Kriegsman. No. The only ranged weapons that can shoot in melee from infantry models are pistols. Infantry can only shoot pistols in melee. Infantry can also not be shot into melee, but we'll talk about this later when we have several units on the field. We'll be running them as single model units, because it makes it slightly easier, and I will be doing other stuff as well. So we move on to the charge phase. There are no charges to be made, so we move on to the fight phase. Now, as stated, the Kriegsman did charge in the Kriegsman's turn, the last turn that was played, so the Kriegsman still gets priority here. Well, then we turn into prolonged combat, which is really blimmin' annoying to explain because I barely understand it myself. So you have weapon skill of 4, so you moving on 4s. That's a 5. So the Kriegsman does hit. Moving on 4s. That's a 2. The Kriegsman will be spending 1 command point on command reroll. Like Overwatch, this is a universal command point stratagem. You can use it any phase whatsoever to do anything. You can reroll 1 dice roll. This does not count for abilities that restore models, healing, such as Necron's thing, which we will talk about later when we go through each faction. Necron's reanimation protocol, healing in general from medikits, from Kriegsmen, or that kind of thing, and deadly demises, which are when vehicles roll to see if they blow up. Monsters and vehicles roll to see if they blow up because they died. Now he's going to use a command point here to re-roll this wound to try and get another 4. Rolls of 3 still fails as command point reroll often does. I have rolled so many 1s into 1s, it's a curse. Kriegsman fails to wound. Now the Cadian gets to fight back still. One attack hit on a 4. That would be a 4. Now, I'm thinking about swapping this light out maybe, because I think this light's blinding you. Do apologise. The Cadian wounds on a 4. That is a 1. The Cadian will be using one of its 2 command points to re-roll the wound roll again into a 6. Now, the Kriegsman has to make a 5-up save. Oh no, he doesn't make the save. I can just command point re-roll that. You can't. You can only use the stratagem. You can only use stratagems once per phase. You can use stratagems on the same unit. For now, this changes in 11th edition, which I will go over. But for now, you can still use multiple stratagems on the same unit. You cannot use the same ones. So the Kriegsman now dies. We'll officially call it here for this game. Cadian 1, Krieg 0. Let me just go quickly turn off that light, and then turn on this one as well. Actually, we'll turn on this one first. I think that might make it nice. I don't think you can still fill. I do apologise. I need one of those proper webcams I can, like, drop over or something for now. Or, hell, just like a stand where I can put my phone hovering. That would probably be better than this for now. But no. Alright, so. We've learned how combat basically one-on-one goes. Now let's try with units. As I stated, I'm going to grab 10 termagants. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 10 termagants here. Let's put them against. Let's put 10 termagants against. Do you know what? 1, 2, 4, 5. Let's put them in a squad against intercessors. Squad of 5 intercessors, I believe. Give me a second, I don't play Space Marines that often. These are heresy models, by the way. These aren't actually Space Marine, like 40k Space Marines. These are heresy Space Marines. They're cooler. Before the Primaris update. Okay, so. Using Wikipedia, obviously, to get all my data from. We're going to go with. We'll run these as intercessors. These are your standard battle line units. They can be run in squads of 5. Each one has a bolt rifle, which will be good for another thing. Each one has a bolt rifle and a close combat weapon. Each termagant is armed with a flesh borer. Each termagant is armed with a flesh borer and a close combat weapon. I think, actually, no, it's not called a close combat weapon. It's called, like, Jittering Claws, I believe. Now, I need to discover a way where I can kind of show my screen and then stop showing my screen at the same time, but that seems a bit too complicated for my skill at the moment. So you'll have to follow along. If you have your phone, you can Google these on Wikipedia yourself. No. Alright. Oh, may I also recommend you do recruit if you're building your armies. But this is for when you properly get into the game. Obviously, Wikipedia is just good for looking up unit stat lines and that to see if a unit's good or not. Wikipedia is always good. Wikipedia for Tyranids, because we'll keep track of both of these. Hmm. I hope everyone's day's gone good. Mine has not. It has been a day. It's been a day and a half, actually. You know, 10th edition, Xenos Tyranids, and we have no, we have Termagant, sorry. Yeah, Jitter and Claws and Teeth. These are your melee weapons. You have close combat weapons here. Now, opponents would see who deploys first. We'll just do this anyway. Space Marines roll a 1. So, unless the opponent ties, the Space Marines are going second in deployment roll. Tyranids roll a 5. Tyranids choose the Space Marine player to deploy first. They deploy in a line. Tyranids player decide to sort of deploy in a line as well. 10 Termagants, 5 Space Marines. Now, you can probably tell that each unit at the bottom of their page has a point total. 5 Space Marines is 80 points. This is 16 points per model. 10 Termagants are 60 points, or 6 points per model. You can tell we're putting 3 Termagants are equal to about a Space Marine. Roughly, it's actually slightly less, but roughly 3 Termagants equal a Space Marine. So, now let's see who goes first. Now, we will do this. The Tyranny player gets the roll. They roll a 4. So, decent odds they do get to go first. Oh god, you do not actually see that. That is horrible. I am so sorry, I did not realise that. Let me do some quick magickering. Some alley open. Yeah. I think that's easier on you lot. Yeah, you can actually see much better now. No. Basically, yeah. So Tyranids got a 4. So you 50-50 odds, like 5s and 6s to beat 4s are a tie, so you re-roll 1s, 2s, and 3s are failures. Space Marine player gets a 4. For a tie, you re-roll the dice. Tyranid players get to re-roll again. This is a 3. This is worse than their last result. Now only 1s and 2s are successful. Space Marine player gets another 3. You just keep re-rolling, basically. Tyranid player gets a 6. Almost guaranteed to go first. A 1 in 6 chance they don't. Okay, this is getting very annoying now. Rolling again. Oh, we're back to where we started. Space Marine players. 1s, 2s, and 3s are not what the Space Marine player wants. I'm getting really annoyed now. Chinese player, rolling again. 5. This is good. Only 6s beat 5, so odds are you're gonna go first. 3. That was about 5 dice rolls. So, Space Marine players go second. This is not what they wanted here. Termagants. Tyranny player first. Go up 1 command point. Space Marine players also go up a command point. Now then, Termagants get to move 6 inches. so they can actually move backwards. However, termagant weapons, since they are armed with the flesh borers, have an 18-inch range. Space range clearly in 18 inches. So they can move d6, but they also could advance. Advancing is basically moving an extra d6 inches, but you lose the ability to shoot and charge. However, these have flesh borers, which have the assault keyword. They can they can shoot and advance. They don't need to worry about not being able to, they still can't charge, but they can shoot after advancing. They rolled a 3, they can move 9 inches. 9 inches will allow them to basically get to where the Space Marines are. So, there's no real point in moving, so I won't actually do the movement. That's just an example. I would need a longer table, really, unfortunately. I would really do this lengthwise. And probably at half scale, so everything is reduced by half, so they only have 9-inch weapons and they only move 3 inches and it's D3. But that would kind of be a bad example, but still. For now, the termagant do not actually need to move. That's just an example that they can, in fact, advance by d6 inches. Got a 3 there, so they could move 9 inches, and they could still have a shot because they have assault weapons. They are going to shoot, however. Now, flesh boars don't have any other fancy keywords besides assault. There are 10 of them here, so that's 10 flesh boars. Each one has 1 attack. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9, 10. Stage flesh borers means that you get 10 shots. Now, nothing fancy keywords, nothing special's going on. So hitting on 4s. But did lose a dice there. If a dice falls on the floor from where you're rolling, re-roll it. Now, unfortunately, the Tyranids didn't do so well. There's a lot of freeze in here. You do hit 5 of their shots. Now, 4 of their shots. So mathematically speaking, they're alright. I have a dice trays. Dice trays are always handy. Keeps your dice in, makes it softer. In fact, did have a dice tray. Give me a second. Bit of a night. I did have a dice tray somewhere. I have a dice tray somewhere, but unfortunately cannot find it anymore, which is weird. But yeah, no. Dice trays are very handy to have to keep all your dice in one place. So, we only had 4 shots in from the Termagants. Intercessors are T4, Flesh Borers are strength 5, so we are hitting on 3s. 4 attacks, wounded on 3s. Now, as we see, the Murray curse is already kicking in. That was 3 1s in one go. Flesh Borers got 1 attack in. These have no MP at all. So the Space Marines are saving on 3s. That's a save. No Space Marine is wounded. Now then, we would move on to the charge phase. However, since these guys technically advanced, they cannot charge, so no charges are to be declared. Now, it's the Space Marine player's turn. 5 bolt rifles have the assault and heavy keyword. As we know, actually no, it's their command phase. I do this a lot, I do often forget. Each one gets a command point each. So now we have 2 command points to 2 command points. Now, these Space Marines can move 6 inches. They can also advance because their bolt rifles have assault. The bolt rifles, however, also have heavy, something we'll get into later, so the Space Marine player will not move. Now, each bolt rifle has 2 shots. 5 of them make 10 shots. So same number of shots as the termagants, 10 shots. Now, mathematically speaking, both squads could have wiped each other out in their shooting thing. Bolt rifles hit on freeze. However, they have the heavy keyword on their weapons, which allows them to add 1 to these roll. Well, add 1 to their ballistic skill, which reduces it to 2 arts, if they have not moved at all. There's no negative modifier to moving, you just get +1 ballistic skill when you don't move. Means that these 10 dice are hitting on a single miss, which means no longer can the Termagant squad be wiped completely, for there are 9 shots now. I want to test something though. 9 shots. These are bolt rifles, strength 3. However, Termagants are strength 4, bolt rifles. However, the Termagants are T3, so this is still wounding on freeze. So much smoother. We did have 3 fails, so officially 4 Termagants lived this. Bolt rifles are AP1. Termagants have a 5-up save. This means there are 6 6-ups to be made here, each one a dead Termagant. No 6-up were made, so we lose 6 Termagants that go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 Termagants have been lost. This is unfortunate, as the squad is now reduced to 4. Which brings up another thing we've got to do now. Having the squad size reduced by now. Now, the Space Marine player is going to charge. They can make these 8-inch charge, and they have a command point to spend on the reroll, which they will be spending on the reroll to charge the Termagant with 5 Space Marines. To double the movement, basically. 10-inch move. This allows the Space Marines to get quite up close and personal with each of these Termagants. It's a one-on-one fight. However, we can get face-to-face contact with 2 of these guys in. Now then, I will gladly introduce you to stratagems. Stratagems are your basic. There are stratagems you can do. If I go to any list and go to the attachments and stratagems. Now the Tyranid player is going to fire Overwatch at this charge for 1 CP. 4 shots hitting on unmodified hit rolls of 6s. We got 2 crits there. Very impressive, Termagants. Wounding on freeze because strength 5 versus T4. 1 shot goes through. AP 0, so the Space Marine is saving on freeze. Does in fact save. No Space Marines were wounded. That was a bad overbot. So, let's start with fight phase. Each Space Marine has a close combat weapon. Its close combat weapons for Space Marines are slightly different. They have triple the attacks of a regular guardsman. So that's 15 attacks going into these Termagants. Should kill. That is more than 3 attacks per guard. Space Marines are also better than guardsmen, so they're hitting on freeze with their close combat weapon. Hitting on freeze. 15 attacks hitting on freeze. Now there are some 1s in here, and 2s. 3 of them to be precise. The Space Marine player is going to use his last command point to re-roll one of these into a 3 or above. And it does. 2 failures. 13 attacks at strength 4 still means you're wounding on freeze. As stated, they are tougher than the regular human. They are genetically enhanced monstrosities in power armor powered by a nuclear fusion backpack. That is genuine lore. Wounding on freeze because we have one, two, three more failures. Now, the Tyranid players does have one command point to spend on the reroll. However, they're saving on fives, and this is 10 attacks. They succeed on one. This is 9 attacks. A command reroll would be useless here to save a single termagant that will not live, because you would then save 8 of them. Command point reroll lets you reroll 1 dice, not the entire batch. The 4 termagants are dead. Quite simply. Now, there is other stuff you could have done here. For example, let's go back to the shooting phase. What the Tyranid player should have done, we are going purely off of no detachments, no army rules, nada. What the Tyranid player should have done, both these people have 2 CP. Now, what the Tyranid player should have done is, now unfortunately termagants don't have the smoke keyword. However, they can spend 1 command point for going to ground. This grants the termagants a 6-up invuln save and benefit of cover. The reason why this is important is the termagants now have benefit of cover. Now, there are only 10 attacks going in because we're going to shoot again with the Space Marines. But hopefully we'll see the difference. Yes, you do have variation in dice roll, so you may not be the easiest. So that's 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's 2, 4. Yeah, and then that's 10. These are 10 dice rolls. Still hitting on 2s because the Space Marines have not technically moved this turn. Now, no failures. Some criticals, but we don't care currently. Wounding on 3s because strength 4 versus toughness 3. We have a lot more failures here. 4 failures outright. Means 6 will be dead. Like last time, 6 termagants will die. However, these had AP 1, so we were saving on 6s. However, not only did the termagants get a 6-up invuln, this doesn't matter now. It doesn't matter if they have a 6-up invuln, we'll get to invulns later. Probably do with some Eldar practice. Got some Eldar down there to try. But instead, this gives you benefit of cover, which in 10th edition currently means it reduces the enemy's AP by 1 or improves your armor save by 1 to a minimum of 3 up if the attack doesn't have any AP. Basically improves your armor save by 1 up to a minimum of 3 up, because most stuff is not going down to a 2 up if the target is shooting something. You're usually shooting something with AP if it has a 2 up save, because otherwise you're saving on 2 ups. So these 6 attacks that would be the Tyranid player would be saving on 6s are actually being saved on 5s because they have benefit of cover. So the AP is reduced to 0. So on 5s, suddenly the Tyranid player has saved 2 of them. There was a 6 in there, but there was a 5. So only 4 termagants die. 1, 2, 3, 4. This has made it so the matchup on a fight is much more difficult, though you have now wasted a CP on that. Now, the Space Marine player is also going to use something. We're going to describe another core stratagem, grenades. Certain units have, on the bottom of their datasheet, keywords. These are usually infantry, if they're a character, hero, etc. It usually has infantry, vehicle, monster, war, or mounted. These are usually your anti-keywords. There's also beast and swarm. These are your sort of what the basic unit is. Is it an infantry model? Is it like a soldier or a termagant? A sort of strength, sort of standalone thing? Is it a monster? Big, beefy, meaty something? Is it a vehicle? A big, beefy metal object? Is it a beast? Is it sort of a ravenous monster or a scarab thing which doesn't really have a mind of its own? It has a master. Is it a swarm? Is it a collection of small individuals? These usually determine your anti-keywords. Is it mounted? Is it on sort of a light vehicle or a horse or something like that? These depend your anti-keywords. These are your anti-infantry, anti-monster, anti-vehicle we'll get onto later. Then you have something like, is it a character? Is it a named character, being your epic heroes? And is it battle line, etc.? One of these keywords is grenades. These allow you to use the grenade stratagem. With the grenade stratagem, you get to roll 6d6, and for each 4 up. However, this stratagem cannot be used if there is a unit more than 8 inches away. Now, the Termagants are in fact 8 inches away, so the Space Marine player cannot use this stratagem actually, because it requires you to target a unit within 8 inches. So they cannot use the grenades. I have set these Termagants back farther because it was just it was a 8-inch charge previously, which is also fair. Space Marines are going to make them 9-inch charge into the Termagants now. They have 2 CP, so they can command point reroll. That is a 5. They will be command point reroll in the charge. The Termagants will be overwatching on this charge. That is a 7. They do not make the charge, which means the Termagants do not get to fire their overwatch. We now have a squad of 6. For simplicity's sake, let's go back to if they were a squad of 4. These 2 Termagants will return shortly. Now then, having been reduced to below half strength, your unit is going to suffer from lack of morale. Half their unit just got wiped out that turn. They're going to be very shaken up. So you'll notice there's a leadership characteristic in the key stat line bit where your wound counter and toughness are. For Tyranids, for Termagants specifically, that's an 8 up. Which, as you've probably guessed, means you need to roll higher than 8. But like, Alfie, you can't roll that on a d6. That's impossible. You roll it on 2d6 instead. Because that makes more sense. You roll it on 2d6. If you get equal to or higher than your leadership, the unit is at battle shock. I rolled an 8. These Termagants aren't battle shocked. Now, if they had failed the roll, I wouldn't be able to use stratagems on them. I wouldn't be able to fall back with them. I wouldn't be able to do a couple of things with them, actually, because they are battle shocked. However, they are not. They rolled an 8. Let us return the 2 Termagants quickly that were nicked away from them to make them below half strength. I am loving this monster. It is great. Each player goes to 2 command points here. Now, movement phase. The Termagants aren't going to move. Now, Termagants do not have the grenade keyword, so we cannot use the grenade stratagem on them. So we will just be firing the 6 flesh balls into them. Next fight, we will be using different things, and we'll be going over army key. We will go over army rule. So we will be playing probably. You know what? Let's go through. Let's go for Termagants still. We'll use Termagants. Actually, no, we'll use Hormagaunts. We'll use an extra unit as well. No. 6 attacks, hitting on 3s. 4s, sorry. Hitting on 4s. 2 go through. And the Tyranids player will spend 1 command point to reroll one of these into another one. Or miss. 2 shots into a T4 target or strength 5. Wounded on 3s. Or if wound. 2 free up saves, as Termagants don't have AP on this gun. 1 fails. Space Marines, as can be seen, have a wound characteristic of 2. The damage characteristic of Flesh Ball is 1. So a Space Marine takes 1 wound. Now then, this Space Marine that has taken 1 wound is highly important, as all condescent wounds that are on this unit must go through him first, then on to the rest of the unit. Which means this 1 Space Marine has to take the next wound. You cannot distribute the wounds across all the models. However, that's the end of that. These guys will be charging. The 9-inch charge has been made. And you may be thinking, well, this is a bad idea. You're charging Space Marines with a bunch of Tyranids that aren't aligned for melee. And I say, those Space Marines can no longer shoot. their best option is their melee. When we get into army rules, specifically for Space Marines, you'll realise that charging Space Marines is quite good. When their army rule is a shooting army, they only get it while shooting sometimes. Unless they have a special ability, I believe. But these termagants have one attack each for their teeth and claws. Hitting on fours, we had 4 failures, 2 wound. He's now only strength 3, so against T4, we're actually wounded on 5s here. Now we do have what? The Tyranid player will be spending their last command point to reroll this one into a 1. This is an EB0 attack, so on a 3 up, the Space Marine player takes it. That's a 4. Now the Space Marine player with 5 guys, being wounded doesn't matter here. 3 attacks each. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Well, I feel like I'm missing 3 dice here. Yeah, 13, 14, 15. Now, they have 15 attacks, hitting on 3s. Lots of failures here, actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 failures. Wounding on strength 4 into T3, so wounding on 3s. Ooh, that's nasty amount of 1s. 4 1s again. The Space Marine player will be spending a command point to reroll one of these into a 3. Indeed. He does have 6 attacks. I have to make 6 5-ups. I make 1 5-up. He kills the entire unit bar 1. On the Space Marine player's turn, this is a known combat. At this point, you would give up on this combat, most likely. Each player does receive a command point. The Space Marine player, however, cannot shoot in full back, so they're stuck in melee. So onto the fight phase, they do get a consolidation move of 3 inches. They get to pile in on this combat because it is their turn. Basically, their unit can move up to an inch, roughly, into combat. Now, 2 models are within base to base of this termagant. A third one is in base to base of a base to base contact model. That's as far as you can get. The termagant still gets 1 attack. I believe it's 1 attack. 1 attack hitting on a 4. That's a 5. Wounding on a 5. That's a 6. AP0, so on a 3 up. Saves on a 6. Space Marine player is doing quite lucky here. To be fair, this is an 80-point unit going into a 60-point unit that is not designed to have charged. It was a bad idea, as I said. Now, the Space Marine player only has 3 guys in melee contact, so there's only 9 attacks here. This is overkill still. Wounding on 3s. Still fails 3 of them. Hitting on 3s, wounding on 3s as well. Failed 4 wounds. I save on 5-ups. I have to make both 5-up though. I make 1. The player will spend a command point to reroll this. Into a 5. The termagant is still alive. Going into the Tyranid player's turn. 3 to 2. This is a lost cause. I'm going to call it here. This one termagant will most likely die this turn because it goes into prolonged combat now. Which means that the defending player, the player whose not turn it is, gets to choose the first fight after all charge fights have done. Now, since there are no other charge fights, the defending player gets to fight first. 3 Space Marines into this termagant will most likely result in its death. So, let's go over army rules now. We'll not be using 10 termagants this time. I'll be using the other version, 10 hormigons. I will not be using Space Marines. I will be using a killing command squad for this. But not only that. Oh god, no, Gideon. Gideon. We've had an injury, an incapacitation. Oh god. Gideon is fine. We'll be running a Canadian command squad. Not only will we run a command squad, you'll run this Canadian command squad for the commissar. No, we can't actually do that. Beg my pardon. We'll run this Canadian command squad with a squad of 10 Cadians. This is where leaders come in here. This Canadian command squad can lead a couple of units. They have a look here. Not on this one because that has time to get profile up, so I might as well keep that. Astro Militarum. The Canadian command squad. It's a Canadian sort of. It's the officer. It's the leader of these guys. It can lead 2 units. Nope. I thought they could lead Karskin, the Canadian elite. They can't. They can solely lead Canadian shock troopers, which we will be putting them with. A squad of 10 Canadian shock troopers. Blah, 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 blah. I have 10 more to build to make it a squad of 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 Canadian shock troopers. Now, we will be going over war gear options as well here. Now, a thingy can have what is a Canadian commander who is equipped with a lance pistol and chainsaw. Canadian commander is usually equipped with a chainsaw and a lance pistol, your basic melee weapon and your basic pistol. However, you can actually do something else. And your war gear options of your data card. The Canadian commander can have his lance pistol replaced with a plasma pistol or bolt pistol. Here we selected the plasma pistol. He can also have his chainsaw replaced with a power weapon or a power fist. These are at no cost to you. You always take these. A plasma pistol is usually your best option here. A plasma pistol is actually always your best option here, as you'll soon find out. Now, you can have also got a banner bearer. However, I have built him so he can be run as a veteran guardsman. Veteran guardsman can take a secondary weapon, not secondary weapon, a two-handed weapon. Your las guns also can take your flamers, grenade launchers, melter gun, and plasma gun. Him here is built as the plasma gun variant with the flag. Now, you have 2 Tedian veterans. You have a second one as well. This one has the same model loadout as the first one, plasma gun. You have a Vox operator, whose las pistol can be replaced by a plasma pistol or a bolt pistol. I've replaced mine with a bolt pistol. And finally, you have the medic, who can only wield a las gun. Next, you have a squad of 10 shock troopers. These are a bit more simple, basically. You have your officer, who has a chainsword and a las pistol. You can exchange these for a power weapon, a power fist, a bolt pistol, or a plasma pistol. Here I've taken for the chainsword and bolt pistol options. This squad of 10, or 10 models, 2 members can have heavy weapons. These are literally just your secondary weapons: flamers, grenade launchers, melter guns, and plasma guns. Krieg squads also get the option of taking a sniper rifle. Here I've chosen to take a flamer. Your second option cannot be the same, so you can only have one of each basically. I've taken a flamer and another plasma gun. That's right, this squad is running 3 plasma guns. 2 plasma pistols as well. 1 plasma pistol and 2 bolt guns. And bolt pistols. Now, these guys are counted as 1 unit. This is a starting strength of 15 models. So when I battle shock at 7 or below, because it's rounded down for the starting strength of the models. It's but rounded up for the starting strength of the models. So 15 divided by 2 means 7.5. Rounded up means a half strength of 8, which means 7 or below I battle shock instead of 6 or below. Now, we're going to run this alongside two things. We'll be running this against 10 Hormigons led by Tyranid Winged Crime. These Hormigons are your melee battle line for your Tyranids. You saw Termagants be the shooties. We have these being your melee. These are Hormigons. A squad size of 10, prone to falling over. These are the special variation. And by special I mean I got these in a kill team box. These aren't the usual sprues. Led by Winged Tyranid Prime. This is sort of your your leader, your parents, like sort of not commissar, your Cadian Castellan, your sort of low-ranking officer, leader of the troops into battle on the front lines. Sort of meant to get into melee, sort of meant to boost morale in a certain range. We're going to go over army rules here. I think I'll call it for a day because it is 10, 11. 11, 11, sorry. It's 11, 11. Nice. And this monster is keeping me wide awake and I am enjoying it. Very much like the tropical flavor. It's like Pepsi Tropical has the issue of it's just a mango Pepsi with a hint of pineapple. This gives you a good mix of tropical flavors. Loving it. Ah, refreshing. But no. Now, let's do this horizontally. No. Now, we're going to skip the deployment shenanigans, as it doesn't really matter. We'll still roll to see who goes first. This is a squad size of 11, as you have one leader model instead of the 5 leader models. Even though the leader model is in the 30mm base, it does not matter. Does not matter if your leader model is on a different size base. As long as it has the leader keyword and then can lead the squad, you're fine. Actually, wait, I should double check this actually. Oh, no. Sorry, my mistake. I'm not really in the know-it-all in Tyranids. I should be. I'm about to be yelled at in the comments about this because this is a mistake I didn't catch. Well, proxy, this is the new Tyranid Prime with Whiplash, which can lead Hormigons. Winged Tyranid Prime cannot. I've been confusing it. It can lead Gargoyles. I don't have them. So we'll proxy this as the Whiplashed one, for the sake of this video, which can lead the normal ones. Now, skipping deployment phase shenanigans, but still running first. Tyranids will get to roll. They're all a 3. Most likely will go second, however, have the opportunity to go first on the 1 and the 2. Guard on the 2. Convenient. Tyranids get to go first. Each player gains a command point. Tyranid players are at 1 command point. Guard players are at 1 command point. It's now the start of the command. It's now start of the command phase for Tyranids. 1 CP. The Tyranid rule is Shadows in the Wall and Synapse. Synapse is a very simple rule. If the model has a synapse in its keyword description, where you'll find stuff like battle line, infantry, and grenades, it will have the synapse keyword. Models within 6 inches of these have +1 strength to their melee weapons. This does not affect ranged at all, it's a purely melee build. This is why Tyranids are great when you shove them into melee. They have +1 strength to all their weapons, and they're synapse creatures, as stated by GW. If the aura does not specify, it affects the given unit. So it will always affect the synapse model, as it's not specified that the synapse creature does not benefit from its own synapse. So it will always have +1 strength to all its melee weapons. This is how I feel like they balance some of the Tyranids. Now, Tyranids get to move. They get to move 10 inches. Homologs get to move 10 inches. However, Homologs have the funny ability to advance and charge. They get to move 2 inches. However, the Tyranid player will be spending 1 command point on a reroll on this. Into a 1. This is worse. 11-inch move. It's from there. This is where you can sort of drop the ruler for now. As long as you sort of move the positions so they're similar in a way, you can just about move your models over. I'm about to check Hormigons to make sure they can actually move 10 inches. Hormigons can in fact move 10 inches. Because some units can be led by faster or slower models. These models, you always take the lowest movement characteristic. Doesn't matter if the movement of the models is 10 inches and the character moves 3 inches, you take the lowest one. So all these models have now moved 11 inches. Guardians have the funny thing of being able to have the unit advance and charge. However, the Tyranid model has already Tyranid player has already used their free rolls, and it's an 8-inch. It's actually a 7.6 charge. Due to GW's 1-inch power limit, it's a 7-inch charge. They make it. This player will be spending their 1 command point on Overwatch. Unmodified crit rolls of 6s. Now, the unit has 2 plasma guns. We'll be firing these first. These plasma guns have rapid fire 1. As it was a 7-inch charge, we know the unit is within 12 inches, as is a 24-inch range. Now, plasma guns have a strength value of 7. This is wounding the Tyranids on freeze. Even though the Tyranid Prime had a higher toughness of 5, you will take the lower toughness as it's the bodyguard unit. You always sacrifice the bodyguard unit to protect the character. This is a rule, not a strategy. Running 3 plasma guns, there is no need to overcharge currently, as we're still wounding on 2s no matter what. Hitting on 6s because overwatch. That is a single 6. Wounding on 2s because strength 7. That is it. Now, the Tyranid player doesn't have any points to go into ground for the 4-up invuln. A standard plasma gun shot is AP2. Hornigons have a 5-up save. AP2 would make that a 7-up, which as we know on a D6 is impossible. So instead, you lose a model because 1 hit got through. Yes, the hit does 2 damage, but you do lose, in fact, a Termagant. Or Hormigaunt, sorry. Now, the unit also has a Flamer. The Flamer has a 12-inch range. As stated in... Actually, wait. Plasma Gun has rapid fire, so you get an extra 3 shots wounded hit on 6s. No 6s. Flamers are special. They are torrent and ignores cover. So if you got benefit of cover in any way, it's ignored. And it's a torrent weapon, which we'll find out. But for now, it's D6 shots. 6 shots. Torrent comes in now. Classically in Overwatch, you need to roll 6s to hit. Torrent weapons ignore this. For torrent weapons, you don't roll to hit. You auto hit. Now, these are a Flamer, which is strength 4, so wounding Termagants and freeze because toughness 3. That is 5 shots, 5 wounds, saving on 5 up, as the Flamer doesn't have any AP. Surprisingly a good roll. That's 3 6s. One more Hormigaunt has officially died. Next up is the plasma pistol from the Commissar in that unit. One shot on a 6. Fails. Two gold pistols from the leader of that squad and the Vox Operator on 6s. Vox Operator hits. A strength 4 bolt pistol. As seen, you should always technically take a plasma pistol, as it's strength 7, possibly 8 if you overcharge. We'll talk about overcharging later. Does not wound, however. Now then, we have 7 las guns. With rapid fire 1, as stated, these are 14 las gun shots. The strength of the guard is thus. I don't care what I hit on, I just hit you until you're graded your holy chi. We plug so many las gun shots into you, we're bound to hit something. As stated by the fact I just got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 overwatch shots. Now, strength 3 into toughness 3 means I'm wounding you on 4s. I failed to wound 3 of these. At AP 0, these are on 5s. The las guns kill another Hormigaunt. We then have the medic, who also has a las gun. The medic does get double 2s, so does nothing. That is the end. Charges are now made. The now 7-man squad of Hormigauns and the Prime charge. They don't make that charge roll. I'm gonna watch this back and find out they did not make the charge roll. Oh, I swear they did. They got like a 9 or something. Like a 5 or 4. Can't remember. Well, the Hormigauns do charge. We'll just let them charge now. Now then, each one has 3 attacks. So, given there's 7, we're dealing with 21 attacks here. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21 attacks. Hitting on 4s, however, if we look to the winged Tyranid Prime with Whiplash, and close this ad right here, what we find out is models in this unit gain sustained hits 1. Okay. I have to reroll that, unfortunately. Now you may be asking, what's sustained hits 1? You remember how I think critical hits are important? This is where they are. Sustained hits 1, so the time against hit on 3s. Means this one fails, this 2 fails, this 2 fails, this 2 fails, this 2 fails, this 1 fails, this 1 fails. Nope, I closed down that. Yeah, Hormigauns hit on 4s, sorry, not 3s. All these successes. Now we did get 3 crits here. Sustained hits 1. Any time you get a critical hit. There's not an unmodified 6 roll, this is critical hit. So any abilities that give you crits on 5s or crits on X, this affects. Sustained hits 1. For every crit you get 1 dice. Sustained hits X, the keyword. For every critical hit you score, gain X amount of extra hits. Sustained hits 1, I got 3 crits, I get 3 extra hits. This means I only actually failed 7 attacks instead of 10. These are strength 4, as they're being led by a winged Tyranid Prime with Synapse, so the unit is buffed by Synapse. Meaning that on these Cadians, you go from wounded on 4s to wounded on 3s. You still failed 1, 2, 3 of them. 4 of them, actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You can kill the squad, but you can kill the bodyguard unit. AP1 means I'm saving on 6s, unfortunately. Now I made 2 saves here, so 8 units are dead. Now, you want to be careful. You get to decide. The player who's being attacked gets to decide where the wound allocations are going. So what you really want to do is take out all the guys with lasguns. Your lasgun people are your meat shields. 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, here's the thing. 8 guys die. I only have 7 lasguns here. I have to give up someone. I'm going to give up a plasma gunner here. You may be asking why. Well, I'm not going to be able to shoot him, and my other guy has a bolt pistol. Now, back in my melee phase, well, we still have one guy with a close combat weapon. This is one attack hitting on a 4. Double checking because the Canadian Command Squad's close combat weapon has 2 attacks. This is odd. Have I been getting close combat weapons wrong this entire time? No, I haven't. Canadian Shock Trooper has a 1 attack close combat weapon, hitting on 4s. Hits. Strength 3, so wounding on 4s, on Hormagaun's T3. AP 0, so this is a Hormagaun save of 5 up. Fails. Hormagaun dies. Now, the other guy, the leader, as stated, has a chainsword. 3 attacks hitting on 4s. Fails 2 of them. Strength 3. Really? Strength 3? Chainswords only give you 2 extra attacks? Oh, that's dumb. Strength 3, so wounded on 4s. Still fails. The chainsword did less than the close combat fists. Now for the command squad. Now, as stated, these close combat weapons are different. They get 2 attacks instead of 1, which is weird. We have 4 guys with close combat weapons. So it's 8 attacks hitting on 4s. Fails 3 of them. Not 4 of them, actually. Half of them fail. Which mathematically, for hitting on 4s is standard. Strength 3 is so wounded on 4s. I failed 3 of them. That's 1 5-up save made. Not made, actually. Another Hormagaun just dies. The squad is not below half, as there's still 6 members. It's at half strength now, as you round up. Now, we do have a power fist on one of these guys. The power fist is different. You cannot allocate this, because the weapon does not have precision, you cannot allocate it to the character unit. Canadian Command Squad. Armed with a power fist is 3 attacks hitting on goals. 2 go through. This power fist is strength 6. He's whacking you with a fist powered by, basically, a massive punch. So it's strength 6. Going into T3 units, it's wounding them on 2s. Double 5s wound. These are AP2 attacks, 2 damage apart. 2 Hormagaunts flat out die. That is the end of the fight. Acadians then move in. Now then, you've got a counter. Now then, that's the end of the turn. The Acadians get to basically pile in, moving onto the unit. Now then, to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm also at half strength, not below, at half strength. Moving to my categories, each unit gets 1 thing. Now then, you may be asking, what on earth is the Imperial Guard's army rule? Simple. Orders. Orders. That is the Imperial Guard rule. Each officer, your leaders, have the voice of command ability. This allows them to give orders. Some units have restrictions on what orders you can give. This one doesn't. On this unit, we will be taking fixed bayonets as our order. This provides us with +1 to hit for. Actually, no. We will be taking officer voice of command. We will be doing take cover. This provides us with improves our save characteristic by 1. My Canadians now save on 4s. With these AP1 weapons, they'll be saving on 5s still, but it's +1 save. There are other orders I can give, but I'm not going to give them currently. But no. Well, actually, no, we are. We're actually gonna take shoot here. This gives us +1 to our ballistic skill instead. I'm changing my mind for a specific reason here. Actually, no, I won't do that. We're gonna go with the take cover one for +1 save. That is a detachment stratagem for a order, but most guard detachments do have it. So I was wondering whether to include it or not, but we'll leave faction stratagems out of it for now. That will probably be sort of Sunday's thingy. But now we move on to the command phase, where this command squad has a medic. I get to restore D3 models. I restore 3 models. I'll be restoring the Vox Officer, the Plasma Gunner, and another Las Gunner. Now then, I have 2 bolt pistols in this squad, and the Vox Officer and a thing. I'm hitting on 4s. 1 bolt pistol does hit. Strength 4 against T3 means I'm wounding on 3s. I succeed on the wound. It's AP 0, so on a 5-up Hormagaunt save. Fails. A Hormagaunt now dies. We have 2 Hormagaunts left in the bodyguard unit. Now I do have a plasma pistol, and I believe that is it, unfortunately. Do have a plasma pistol. Hitting on 4s. Fails to hit. Now, we're going to move on to the fight phase here. There aren't any stratagems I can unfortunately use currently in the fight phase. So it just goes on to the Hormagaunts melee. Now there are 2 Hormagaunts here, so we only get the 6 attacks. Goes in on 4s. That's all the 4s, and we get 3 sustained. And you may be thinking, oh, but you hit all your shots. That means you get extra shots. We've added another Hormagaunt to these attacks, basically. You get 3 extra attacks here. So now we have 9 attacks. Strength 4 because still in synapse range. So 9 attack, wounding on 3s this time. I believe I know why I got triple 6s. 1, 2, 3, 4 miss, so we actually lost only 1 dice in that. 5, but AP -1. Now, because I took take cover, my save instead of being on 6s is on 5s. Really wasn't needed, I just rolled 4 6s and 1 5. I suffer no wounds here. Now, in the previous fight phase, I did forget to pump in the Tyranid Prime. And Tyranid Prime has a Whiplash. 8 attacks, hitting on 2s. Still failed one of them, however has 3 sustained. So that 1 comes back plus 2 extra attacks, so increase it by 25%. Strength 5, so still wounding on 3s because not strength 6. Still fails 2 of them, it's a lot of traits. AP2 means I'm still saving on 6 hits. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I am left with 3 models remaining. There's still another attack to go through. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We are going to replace this plasma gunner with the medic. Now, we're going to do Sovereign Talons for 6 attacks. No, actually, we'll do Rending Claws. Rending Claws for 4 attacks, hitting on 2s. All hit plus a sustained. Wounding on 2s for no failures. That's 5 6s. I make none of them. That is officially the Guard Squad 1. That's a 65-point model compared to the 65-point model added to a unit of 65 to a unit of 65. This was an even fight. Now, usually there would be a lot more distance. You wouldn't get the turn one charge off, so the Cadians had more time to shoot in the war. But that is the basics. It is about 11:30. I'm going to close off there. Do hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I will be doing more probably on Sunday. Saturday will most likely be PvZ2 Fusion level. I have two important things and about an hour gap between them. Catch you tomorrow, maybe.